You're supposed to play the video, baby. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Bloom. I want to welcome everyone. If you have not attended our show before, this is a wellness platform and we host various conversations surrounded by health, wealth, beauty, self-confidence, and love. And I am extremely excited to introduce to you all our next guest. She is a gospel recording artist, a producer, a community activist, all around just an amazing woman that truly embodies the presence of God. And I am so excited to have LaShaun Martin on with us. Y'all show her some love and let us know that you're here in the comment box. Go ahead and bring her out.
Hello, hello.
Hi, LaShaun. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm fantastic. Super excited to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you again for being here. You are such an amazing person and you're very busy and I definitely know that, but and accomplished. And so I definitely appreciate you taking time out your day to join us and to share your story with us in hopes. And I know that it's going to motivate and inspire other people. So just to check in real quick, we have my mother-in-law, D. Black Newton is here. Tammy, awesome. Welcome everyone. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. I always say I am a woman of many hats. So first and foremost, I am a wife to an amazing husband, Corinne Martin, and a mom to two beautiful daughters, Aria and Elan. So I always like to say that first because they are my foundation and they are my reason for literally everything I do in every branch of my life. Outside of that, I am a worship leader. I am a gospel recording artist. I'm a philanthropist, do a lot of activist work in our community through several organizations that I'm part of. I'm also a business owner. So I've got a few hats that I wear. And as I'm sure you know, it's kind of difficult sometimes juggling them all. But with the grace of God, somehow we manage.
Yes, and you're managing well. You're managing very well.
Thank
you.
I
know gospel is very much so a huge part of your life and your family's life as well. And it's so beautiful to watch how passionate you are, delivering God's work and showing people the promises of God through your gospel. So I want to ask you just, how has it influenced you in your life personally?
Well, actually, gospel music is the foundation for me. I'm a PK, which is a pastor's kid. My dad is, he's gone on to be with the Lord now, as the old folks say, but he was my foundation for my relationship with God. Married with the music expertise and genius of my mother. My mother was a choir director, a music director, a vocal trainer my entire life. And both of my parents come from a music background. My dad used to sing. He recorded several albums with his younger sister and also with some other artists here in the DC metro area that went nationally. And my mom has just been, the foundation of music for my life since the very beginning. She was the person that would make me sing when I didn't want to sing and, would make sure I got my notes right and made sure I was on pitch. And once I, mastered that, as far as she was concerned, then I had to teach the folks next to me. So that kind of evolved, my music foundation. And then, it just kind of sprouted into other things, to teaching music, to producing, to writing music and, vocal training and all of that. But that's the foundation of where it all started, my parents.
Oh my goodness. And again, I had the honors, first of all, of attending your dad's funeral. I never had, the privilege of meeting him in person, but I tell you, that has been probably one of the few funerals that I've ever been to where I felt like I left with so much.
Wow.
It was his whole message, and you just tell the way your family lives their life of service. I walked out of there feeling inspired, and that rarely happens at a funeral. So I just want to really, I've never had the chance to tell you that, but I just wanted to tell you that today.
That really means a lot. That means a lot. He was an amazing man.
Yes, and his legacy lives on in you guys. So he's important to you all immensely. So
Listen, if we can be half of what he was, we'll be fine.
Yeah. So tell me, when was the first time that you actually, your mother put a mic in your hand and you actually sung and you realized that you had this amazing gift?
So I'm asked that question often, and every time I ask my mom, she says, "Well, I just always remember you singing." I said, "Mom, well, it had to start somewhere." So, when we kind of narrowed things down, she says that I began really singing at the age of 4. So that's kind of when it
Oh,
started. And for me, again, the foundation is in the church. I always have to go back to that, even though, now, I mean, as a gospel artist, the word tells us that, we need to go reach those outside of the church. So I sing outside of the church also, but that foundation started at age 4 in the church.
I
Yeah.
love that. That's amazing. Did you surprise yourself when you just realized that you have such an amazing voice? Did you just,
You know what's
or you just
interesting?
knew, you just automatically felt confident in it?
I don't think I always felt confident in it. I think
Hmm.
that it evolved over time with hearing and seeing people's reactions as I sang. I wasn't necessarily, one of those folks that walked in the room saying, "Oh, I know I've got this," because
Yeah.
and then I always felt like I didn't know if I could quite measure up to what my mom's expectation was of me as a vocalist.
Mm.
So I was always pushing, trying to figure out what that was like. And then obviously, as a child, you want to make your parents proud. You want to make them happy. Um, but it wasn't kind of innate in me. It was just over time seeing the reactions of people when I sang. That affirmed me, especially as a young person. That affirmed, like,
Mm.
okay, you must be doing something right. People are enjoying this and they want you to do it again. So that was
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. So how would you say the music has like propelled you to achieve other successes in your life?
That's a really good question. I would say the music, the study of music and the business of music um, really creates a drive in you and a creative capacity, in my opinion, that I don't
Mm.
see that comes easily for me in other areas. So because I have that foundation of music, because I have the creative space, because music is business, people hear the result of it, but on the back end,
That's
it's really
true.
business. And you've got to make sure that you've got that business in place before anything else. I think that has continuously driven me in other areas of my life. And I am I hate to say this, but I am a perfectionist. And
Ooh.
so things have to be done a certain way. I am learning the older that I get, and children will definitely humble you in this way. But I am learning the older that I get, some things you just got to let it go and let it be what it's going to be. But in my head, there's a place for everything, there's a space for everything, there's a time for everything. And I really
Mm.
do my best to live my life in those spaces. And when I fall off track, obviously I give myself and others grace. But that's really the way that I think. So music has really propelled me in other spaces of my life to just be very business minded, to do things in excellence. Because I always say, listen, I am not giving God my trash. If I give everything else in my life 1,000%, I'm going to give God that much more. That's so, so, so important to me. So important.
I love that. I love that. Kim says, yes, they will. My mother-in-law,
Yes.
LaBarbara Weathersby, she also wanted to mention that Uncle Junior would be so proud of you.
Oh,
Keep
thank you
going
so much.
higher.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And thank you to Will also for joining the conversation. He says, hey there, family.
I'm seeing the comments here. This is great. This is fantastic.
So you perform with so many amazing artists, including Bebe Winans. I mean, I think we have a clip that we can show everyone of that. Hopefully we do.
Okay.
Hold on one second. Oh, I don't know if they can hear your volume at the volume at the moment. I mean, but honestly, what was that whole experience like? How did that come together? What did it feel like? Did it feel surreal? I mean, that seems like a dream come true.
All of the above.
Yeah,
All
I
of
can
the
only
above,
imagine.
literally. This is actually my worship team here that you see on the stage here.
Okay.
And Bebe wanted to do one of the songs that he normally does with Cece. And they looked at me and said, LaShaun, you got it? And I said, sure. Cece's one of my absolute favorite artists ever. Between her and Whitney Houston, they're like, here at the top for me. And so it wasn't a matter of me learning the music. I knew it.
Yes.
And that's one thing. I mean, that goes back to the business of music, always being prepared, right? Always,
Yes.
always, always being prepared. And not just in music, but in everything in your life. You don't, whether they say, you don't have to get ready if you're always ready, make sure that you're.
Hmm.
So this was one of those times where, LaShaun, you got it? And I'm like, sure do. I'm ready. And BB and I did not have one conversation before we got on stage together.
Really?
Not one conversation, not a full
Oh my
conversation other
goodness.
than, hey, how you doing? You ready? And I said, I sure am. And he's like, all right, LaShaun,
Ah,
let's go.
LaShaun, I am so floored by that, honestly, because you all seem so in sync on that stage. It is just amazing. And for anyone who wants to catch the full clip, you can watch it on LaShaun Martin Music. That's her YouTube channel, where you'll be able to see all of her videos and her single that we're going to talk about in a little bit as well. So yeah, I'm telling you, it really seems like you all are just so in sync, and you have the voice of an angel. You really do. I mean,
Thank you.
anytime we're playing your music, your song in here, it's like, you listen, you go to church sometimes and you listen to some gospel, singers, and it seems okay, but you can tell when somebody actually feels the conviction and they're singing with a purpose, and it's just, you're singing from your stomach. So even if you are a perfectionist, it resonates well with us, and I love it. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. And I should say, we had 4 services that day. So I
Oh,
started singing that song at around 6 in the morning. And the last time I sang it for the last service was, I think, at 1 o'clock. So there were
oh
4
my
services
goodness.
back to back that particular day. And the Clark sisters came on the second half of that same day, and I had to sing with them. So it was a moment where you feel like you're looking down at yourself and saying, is this really happening?
Oh my goodness. It
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah, it happened. It happened. It was great. It was great.
I bet. Deep Blackman said you have an anointed voice. Absolutely. That's
Thank you
exactly
so
what it
much.
is. An anointed voice. An anointed voice. So tell me about, you released your first single, Be Still. What was that experience like?
That experience was humbling. It was an incredible.
Mm,
I'll just give you some background on how the song was written. So I'm married. I've been married for, it'll be 19 years in December. And my husband and I were having a disagreement. Now, listen, if you're married, you know that marriage is not always rainbows and butterflies and honey baby and love and kisses. It's just not if you're being honest,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so we had gotten into a disagreement, and I left home to take the kids to school. And on my way to school, God just kept talking to me, and he just said, I got it. I'll handle it. Just be quiet. And, it's
Mm,
in those moments, where sometimes we're challenged, especially if we're trying to get our point across and we're trying to be heard. And on my
yeah.
way back from taking the girls to school, I just kept hearing that over and over again. And God just kept saying, be still, be still. I got it. Don't say anything. And came home, sat down at my kitchen counter, and that song was written in 15 minutes. In 15 minutes.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it was simply from me being obedient and
Mm,
listening to the voice of God in that moment. And it's just amazing. I don't listen, I'm a church girl, so I'm just going to be who I am. It's
come on, bring
amazing
it.
what God can do in the moments that we are still and that we wait to hear his voice. And when we don't move on our own accord, but we wait for him to direct us, then he does exceedingly abundantly above all we could ever ask, think, or imagine. But it's because we waited
Oh,
to listen, to hear from him. Now, listen, I have failed that test 1,001 times, but on this
Yeah.
particular day, I listened.
Yeah.
I listened on that particular day, and that song was written in 15 minutes. Now, here's the craziness of that moment. When I finally released the song, it was a year later.
Oh.
Didn't release the song in that moment because I really felt like it wasn't time. It wasn't
Okay.
time for it. Who knew that when we decided to start recording the song, and when I say we, I mean my producers and I, when we decided to go into the studio and start recording the song, we had everything scheduled, and then COVID hit. And we had the
Oh.
scheduled time, and we said, well, wait a minute, we just got notification that they're shutting the city down. Like, if we leave, the house and head to the studio, like, are we going to get arrested? Like, is somebody going to stop us on the freeway? What's going to happen? And we chanced it. And we went that particular day saying, okay, we will be out of here before nightfall by 5 o'clock. And that was the foundation of how the recording and the journey of Be Still began.
Oh
Now,
my
fast
goodness.
forward through the year of COVID, we had so many obstacles. I mean, just obstacle after obstacle, from recording, to making sure that when we did hit the studio, that my background vocalists were safe and we were all, covered, and, scrubbing down the studio, making sure everything was good, and, afraid to leave the studio. Like, are the cops going to be out here waiting for us? Because we didn't know, we didn't know what COVID was going to look like or what the restrictions. And then fast forward to the song being released, when we finally got it done, and then the video being delayed because of COVID. So there was tons of obstacles, but God had the final say. So we just persevered. We persevered, and we stayed faithful, and we stayed prayerful throughout the whole process. And it happened.
It did happen, and it happened beautifully. And I think that the timing was obviously perfect, because during a pandemic, I think so many of us had different unique challenges. And to hear your song, Be Still, it's a message in and of itself, no matter what we're going through. Like you said, that we just got to listen to the word of God and just trust and believe that everything is going to be okay.
Yes.
So maybe your song was the medicine that we needed during this chapter of our lives.
And it's funny because we had no idea that the pandemic was coming when we were planning, to release. And one of my producers sent me a text message, and he said, have you paid attention to the lyrics of your song? And I said, what are you talking about? He said, think about what's happening right now, and think about the lyrics of the song. And we all sat there with like our mouths hanging open, like, oh my gosh, this is why God didn't allow us to release it a year before. It wasn't needed for that time. It was needed for when it happened.
That gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yep.
Listen,
you're right. And you're right. It's not about us. And you know what? A lot of times, I love how you said that, sometimes in the beginning, you maybe didn't listen to the word of God. And I think that can resonate with all of us.
Sure.
But we make it so much about ourselves and our own insecurities and what people are going to think about me and my life and me. But it's not about us, like you said. It's about us using the gift that God gave us to be a blessing to others.
That's right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm so with you on that message. So I definitely appreciate that. So I want to switch gears just a little bit, and I want to talk about Mocha Moms. This is a wonderful organization that I know a lot of other people are going to want to know about. So you're the National Vice President of Operations for Mocha Moms. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and what the organization is about?
Sure. Mocha Moms was actually founded almost 25 years ago. We were founded on the focus and the vision of being a support for stay-at-home mothers of color. And the reason for that is because lots of professional women around the country made decisions to step away from their professional careers to focus on their children. And they wanted to be there for their kids. They didn't want their kids to be in daycare. They didn't want to be a part-time parent. They didn't want to have to scramble and try and juggle work and family. So they stepped away from these professional careers as doctors and, attorneys and scientists and teachers and all kinds of, backgrounds, just to focus on their families. And so our founders at the time wanted to create a space for mothers to feel supported in that decision. So initially, we were an organization of stay-at-home mothers of color. We have transitioned over about the last 4 or 5 years to just being a support system for all mothers of color. And I say of color deliberately because a lot of times we don't, as women of color, have that space to go to vent and to share where those in our space will fully understand because it's a different experience. And I would say also that many times, and this may not be the case for all, but many times those parents, you know, who have spent the money to put us through that education and who have, you know, backed us up on all of our, you know, professional decisions, and they're looking at us sideways like, you're going to do what? Look,
Yes.
I juggled motherhood with everything I had to do. You can do it too.
Yes.
As you know, when you have so many balls in the air, sometimes balls begin to fall. Now,
Yeah.
even though I'm the national vice president of operations, I have always remained employed, whether it was my employment or, you know, outside employment, but I was able to successfully juggle the two. Maybe you should ask my kids and maybe they will tell you whether or not I was successful.
Listen, your children are doing very well.
I don't know.
There's so many colleges trying to get them.
Thank God.
They're doing very, very well.
Thank God for that. But yeah, so that's what the organization is founded on. So as the operational national vice president, I basically handle all the operations of the organization. I have 5 regional directors that I work with. I have 8 national board members, 7, including myself, that I work with on a regular basis to make sure that our programming and our activity and our philanthropic work, all of our community work is supported throughout the country. So we're a national organization and we have a chapter in Hawaii as well. So it's a great organization. It's like a mommy sorority, if you will, but without all of the, you know, the structure. I mean, there's structure in the organization, but it's really just to support the mother. The main issue and the main goal is to support the mother.
I love that. I love that 100%. How are you balancing it all? I mean, you're wearing so many different hats. Tell me, what's that like for you? How do you keep everything afloat and balance it?
I will tell you that my calendar is my best friend. It is not on my calendar. It will not happen. It will. And we actually have a family calendar as well. I have my own calendar, but then we have a family calendar as well. And that is the way that I keep my head from exploding because there's so many different directions I can be in at any given time on any given moment. And I'm sure some of you, especially in this Zoom age right now, have experienced, you know, multitasking and being on several meetings at, you know, the same time. And, you know, so that's pretty much how I've balanced even prior to COVID is it has to be on my calendar. Has to be. And then I try not to overthink, right? So I prepare, I'm an avid, you know, preparation person. So I prepare, I make sure all my stuff is ready, and then I let it exit my brain until it needs to come back in. Because if I load my brain with everything, I'll lose it. So
you know yourself though.
Oh, I know myself very well. Very, very well. And I'm an avid multitasker, sometimes to a fault, to where I have so many balls in the air and I'm juggling them all at the same time. And then that can turn into, you know, not sleeping and not exercising and not taking care of myself. So then I have to pull back and say, hold on, girl, you are not Superwoman. Take the cape off and get it together. Get it together and make yourself the priority. So that's another thing.
I think that's one of the things that a lot of mothers struggle with is the self-care, the putting ourselves first. Because, you know, like you said, we're so used to being caregivers and giving other people things, and we necessarily sometimes, you know, neglect to fill ourselves up. So when it comes back to motherhood, tell me, what does being a mother mean to you?
If I talk about it too long, I'll cry.
No. I want people, you know, and I ask you this question because you are one of the mothers that I look at in admiration, because you can really tell, I really mean it, because you can tell that you adore your children. Even through your posts on Facebook, you show them your love, but you also show them the love of God too, which is never ending. And it just really reflects in just who they are as young, almost, you know, now women. Right. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah. So I just want to peek in your mind a little bit and see what you would say about that.
Sure. They are, I was a pretty active, busy woman before, I became a mother. And when I found out I was pregnant, I just kept saying to myself, oh my gosh, like, how am I gonna add this, to everything else that I have going on in my life? And how am I going to do it well? Right? Because I was a
Yeah.
career woman. Listen, in my suits and my pumps with my briefcase and with my BlackBerry at the time, going into my office and, handling business. And I thought to myself, there's no possible way that I'm going to shift to being this nurturing, loving, type of person. I'm just gonna, have my baby and I'm gonna, create this life for her. And my husband and I are gonna create this life for her. And I'm gonna go back to work. Well,
Yeah.
God said differently. Because when I had her, I remember speaking of Aria, that's my oldest child's name. And she just turned 18 in January. I can't believe I'm saying that. But when I gave birth to her and I had to go back to work 6 weeks later, I took her to this amazing daycare. They were wonderful. They took great care of her. But I used to leave my job every single day that was about 30 minutes away from the daycare, drove to daycare to spend maybe 10 minutes with her, and then I would drive back to work. And this happened every single day. This one particular day, I drove into the daycare, and they had these big windows, that, where you could see directly into the rooms that they were in. And I stood at the window, and she was in a swing, and one of the teachers were talking to her. One of the daycare providers were talking to her. And she saw me, and I saw her, and we locked eyes. And this is what I saw. That face. Like,
oh, yeah. It makes me teary-eyed because I know that experience. I know, right? Go ahead.
I said to myself, done. I picked it up that day. I went home. I called my boss and said, I will not be coming back into the office. I'm not sure when. And he said, what are you talking about? And I said, I am not seeing that face every single day when I have to pick her up. I can't do it. Like, I cannot do it. And motherhood just overtook me in a way that I didn't even expect. And wonderfully, I had an amazing boss, and he said, okay, can you just come in tomorrow, pick up your laptop, pick up your phone, and just work from home? Just work from home. Oh. And that was the moment that I worked from home, and I have never been back into a traditional office setting ever since. God has worked it out in my entire career where I have worked from home to raise my children at the same time. And I've never had to go back to an office. And so it's allowed me the freedom to manage my own work schedule. Obviously I have work commitments and things I have to do, but manage my own work schedule, but to always keep my babies as a priority. And I say my babies because they would be running around literally here in this office under my desk, over in the corner, sitting there, with their work. And I'd be, working, doing other things. If I had a meeting, sometimes I'd have, can I get real with you? Sometimes I have to go in the bathroom and close the door so I could have my meeting while they were sitting outside of the door. So
wow. That's real life.
To juggle motherhood. But my girls are my world. They are my life. I am the proud mother of Aria and LaShaun Martin, and they are my greatest joy. Like, I feel like the music is wonderful. The philanthropic work is wonderful. My husband is amazing, but my girls, like, if I get that right, I'm done. I don't need to get anything else right. I don't need to get anything else right. Everything else can fall to pieces. But if I'm a good mommy, if they feel like they've gotten everything they need out of me and I've poured everything I can into them, we can hang everything else up. Everything.
LaShaun,
everything.
You're making me tear up, honey.
I'm sorry.
But listen, guys, I'm sitting up here supposed to be interviewing you, and you sitting up here making me cry. I'm sorry. But it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful how you pour into and love your girls. And my mother-in-law just said, you have prepared the girls and prepped them to be very successful and to
Oh.
have a voice in society. She's so proud of them. And that literally wraps it up, the sacrifice that you made, but also you wanted something, you had an intention, you wanted to be able to work from home so you can be with your girls and pour into them. And God provided.
He did.
He provided. And it reminds me of this story that Michelle Obama told one time. I think she was going to an interview, and she walked in there with both of her children, and she's like, if this is how you want me, this is how you're going to take me. I'm a mom.
That's right.
Case closed.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
My girls went everywhere with me. Like, people knew, if my girls can't come, don't book me. I won't be there. If my kids can't be there with me, I won't be there, because I was one of those moms where I didn't let people babysit my kids. I didn't leave my kids different places. I just didn't. In my former life, before the job that I told you I walked in and said I'm done, I worked at a prison for years. So my perspective is very different. So I don't leave my kids with just anybody. I can't. So they have lived a life of knowing that mommy was always going to be there. And if I wasn't there, I'd be there shortly.
Yes.
So they've lived with that security. But here's the interesting thing, that has not stifled their growth, right? Hasn't stifled their growth, because at the same time that we protected them, we also let them fly. I mean, they've been to Brazil, they've been to the Dominican Republic, they've been to New Zealand and Australia and Fiji, and I mean, all kinds of places without us.
Yes.
Right? So we kind of built it in a way. And listen, I'm not telling you there's a playbook, because a lot of this was like, okay, we're gonna do it and we're gonna pray that God works it out.
Let me put my flight on standby just in case.
Exactly. But by the grace of God, they've traveled to more places than I have, and I'm quite traveled, but they've gone to more places than I have. And it built their confidence. It helped them to know that, you know what, I got this, I can handle this. So they're two amazing girls. One is off to college in the fall. She'll be going to USC, University of Southern California. And my baby will be a senior next year. So it's all happening so fast.
I know. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I'm so curious to see what life is going to feel like with, being an empty nester with both of your children in college and things like that. But they love their parents. So I'm sure they'll be coming home and calling very often.
I hope so. I hope so.
They will. I'm sure they will. So I have to ask you also, you've met so many amazing people. You're constantly at the White House. You've met Michelle Obama, other prominent, successful people. Who would you say has, influenced you the most in life?
Oh, wow. For a long time, when people ask me that question, I would always say Michelle, because just being in her presence, she is just such a phenomenal woman. It's one thing to watch her on TV. It's one thing to watch her on a stage when you're at a distance and, you're, around thousands of people. It's another thing to be up close and personal with her. Is a phenomenal, phenomenal woman. Like, everything that you see and everything that you hear, that's who she is. She's so warm. She's so loving. The very first time I met her, my girls and I went to tea at the White House. Because I had a relationship with the Obama administration at the time. And we went to have Mother's Day tea at the White House. When we arrived, there were, several White House staffers, and they asked the parents, would you mind if your kids come, to the back? We have some activities for them to do. So we're thinking, okay, we're at the White House. We're safe. We're good. And then the parents went into the tea room. And what we didn't know is that our kids, when they introduced Michelle Obama, all of our kids walked out with her. So they all were like surrounded around her. And we were, the parents are like clapping, and we're thinking, oh, the kids are still in the back, doing activities. No, they walked out with the first lady.
Oh my goodness.
They walked out with the first lady. So that was amazing. So Michelle, definitely top on my list. But I would say now, and I think more so because she's gone, is Cicely Tyson. Cicely Tyson, meeting Cicely Tyson, just her grace and her poise and her wisdom. And, she just exuded just such love and such warmth She made you feel like, you were the only person in the room, having a conversation.
Mm.
So I would say both of them, but at the top right now is Cicely. She's amazing. She was
Oh,
amazing.
I mean, two amazing, amazing women. I mean, I'm floored. I think it's beautiful that you had this experience to be able to just meet all these amazing people.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
that's a
grateful.
gift. Yes, I know you are. I definitely know you are. You're blessed too. So I have to ask you, what advice would you give to young women raising the next generation of powerful women?
Oh, the very first thing I would say is allow them to use their voice.
Mm,
Don't silence them. I'm not sure about you, but as me growing up, there were times where I would walk into rooms and the older people would say, don't speak when grown folks are talking.
mm,
Like, be quiet. You can't speak right now, or wait until, I mean, there's courtesy, but there's also silencing people.
yeah,
And one of the things that I would definitely encourage everyone to do, especially, in this era and in this stage where women, are seen as less than, um, where you have to say, hold on, I'm speaking, where you
yes.
have to be given permission, to have a seat at the table, where you have to be given permission, to speak in a room, full of males, especially, and no slight to the males,
Mm.
but this is girl power right now.
Yes, it is.
Definitely, yeah, definitely allow them to use their voice and don't silence them. And you may learn something if you wait long enough and allow them to speak. You might learn
Mm,
something. I'm really, really big on hearing the voices of the younger generation because guess what? They've got next. We're not always going to be here. And so they're learning and they're grasping a lot from us. But a lot of these things, they're creating themselves. They have the
that's true.
foundation, they have the framework from us, but that framework just lays the foundation. We should give them the freedom to go in whichever direction they want to take it, as long as it's respectful, as long as it's reasonable, as long as they're not degrading themselves or anyone else, as long as they're doing it with a spirit of love.
Hmm.
Listen to these young people. They have wisdom. They have wisdom, and many of them are wise beyond their years if you just stop and let them speak.
I love that. That is such a great message. And it's resonating with other people. It definitely resonates with me too. But Tammy says, yes, I totally agree. Shannon says she
Yeah.
grew up just like that as well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And even in the workplace, like you said, I know there's a lot of women who are still dealing with those challenges even today. So
Yes.
I think that is a phenomenal message and one that we can all take heed to and really, instill in our children and let them use their voice to impact change. So let me
Absolutely.
ask you, I look at you and I see a woman who is full of confidence, power,
Mhm.
beauty. How
Aw.
have you, as you've been achieving so many things in your life, how have you prevented fear from stopping you from moving to the next phase of LaShawn's life?
Wow. I thought you were going to stop at the first part where you said, how have you prevented fear? Like, what do you mean? Fear creeps in every day, every
Yeah,
moment, every second.
that's
But what I
true.
realized is that time waits for no one. And if I
Mhm.
am trying to be the example, not only for my children, but for the next generation, I have to do it scared. I have to do it
Mm,
scared. Regardless of what that feels like, I have to put one foot in front of the other and do it scared. Even just the music. I'll give you an example. And this is when I knew, okay, stop it already, get your life together. My girls came to me and said, "Mommy, why are you waiting on putting your music out? Like, we're old enough where you can like go to the studio and you can get your stuff done." So they were like motivating me to move forward. And my husband, he likes to say, they have a daddy. I got them. You go to the studio, you get your music done. Like, I got them. I got them,
yes.
right? But it's really just a matter of just doing it. I mean, it seems so simple and it
Yeah.
seems so elementary, but sometimes you have to get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. Stop making excuses. Because listen, what's going to happen is either your idea, you're going to see it a year or two later, and someone else will come up with it. Because I'm very clear on the fact that God gives us gifts and he expects us to use them. He expects us to use them. And when we don't use them, he'll move on to the next person. He's going to get his work done one way or the other. I would rather it be with me in obedience than for him to hand it off to someone else. Because it may not be exactly what he gave you, be a spinoff of something that God gave you years ago. And now you're seeing someone else do it. Or now you're seeing, that business that, that you were supposed to start, or that song that you were supposed to write, or that organization, that nonprofit that you were supposed to give to, or help, foundationally in some way. And you didn't do it. You didn't do it. So really, it's just a matter of getting out of my own way, facing the fear, and doing it anyway. Because one thing I know for sure, without a doubt, is if I jump, God is going to catch me.
There you go.
He's going to catch me for sure. Jump.
And you just look, you can tell by the look in your eye that you believe it.
Listen.
I love that.
That's from experience. I know for a fact that if I jump, he is going to catch me. Now, listen, it may not look exactly like I thought it would look.
There you go.
Right? So we have to be careful about that. We have a complete vision of how we want things to be, and it's perfect and it's well planned out and everything is so together. I'm that girl. Trust me. That's how I live my life. But once I jump and I start to see the pieces of the puzzle put together and how God can orchestrate, all he needed for me to do was jump. Just do it. Just do it.
Oh my goodness. That is, everything that you're sharing with us today is really so powerful. And I love especially how you said, do it scared. Because sometimes we expect that our product has to be perfect. We have to feel 100% into it. But if we have the idea, we should just do it anyway. Yep, powerful word. Powerful word. Yes. Everyone's agreeing.
Yes.
I love that.
Just do
so
it.
What would you what would you say, what's next for you? You've accomplished so much. What are you looking forward to in the future?
Whew. So I'm actually in the studio right now, doing the next single. And this is another situation. I actually continued writing after the last single that I released in June. It's almost been a year. I continued writing, but the next song that I wrote, again, it was almost like a duplicate of the time before. I felt like, gosh, this is really not the right time for this song. So I'm going to wait a little bit. So I waited. And then I was in a different situation where God had to reveal to me that I needed to trust him and I needed to believe what he said. And I faced a real tough challenge. And I'll share that story at some point. But I faced a really, really tough challenge. And I woke up one morning and said, okay, God, I know this had to be you. This had to be you. And I went downstairs in my basement and I wrote the next song. So that's the song I'm actually working on right now. I'm telling you, when you are just open, when you are open and you are faithful and you are obedient, God will blow your mind. God will blow your mind. And in my opinion, obviously Be Still is my baby. But in my opinion, this next song, listen. It's going to make you dance. It's going to make you do all of that. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. And it's a little bit of a departure from Be Still because it'll make you move. It'll make you move. It'll make you worship. It'll make you dance. It'll make you do all of that. But it's one of those songs that'll really, kind of get you going. So I'm excited about that. So
I'm
excited
for you too.
More music.
I just feel the energy. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say on the the professional front, obviously my philanthropic work is always going to continue. I mean, it's a part of who I am, so that'll always continue. And then shifting to this different space, for me once my senior graduates from high school next year, shifting to a different space of, just really being an empty nester and figuring out what that looks like. But there's always, always, always inspiration all around me to do new and different things. But music is my first love, will always be my first love, no matter what other things I'm involved in. Music is who I am. A worship leader is who I am. So there will always be music coming from me in one form or another.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to hear that too. And for everyone who's listening, we're definitely going to share all of LaShawn's links so you can see how she is and just feel her energy on the stage, because you really you command the stage. You have a presence. And it's one we definitely want our viewers to see, as well as your single as well. And Kim just said, God will never give us more than we can bear. So if it seems too much or impossible, but God has placed in front of us.
That
just means God has us. No need to worry.
Yes, jump. That's right. If y'all don't take anything away from what I said today, jump. Do it.
It's so funny because, I grew up in the church, and after, I graduated high school and started being around a different group of people, I started to come back because I was looking, I was like, there's something different about these women that are in the church. They just have a different aura to them. It's just a certain level of confidence that, you have. And it's confidence in God, and what God can do for you that I think that sets, Christians, Baptists apart from other groups of people, in my humble opinion. And
I think you feel empowered, the more prepared you are, or, when you know it's your purpose and you know it's your calling, there's just a different level that comes with that. Because I haven't always been that passionate about the way I deliver music. Haven't always been that. When I was younger, and my mom would tell you if she were here, I used to sit there with the mic in my hand, tilt my head to the right. It was always to the right, tilted to the right. And I would sing just like that. Super still. No movement, no facial expression, no nothing. I would just sit there with my mic and my head tilted to the side. But there's something that comes with life experience and conviction. And when you believe what you're saying, the delivery is different. It's just different.
Oh my goodness. LaShawn, I swear, I could just sit here for hours and just talk to you because you are because you are really filling our cup up. You have great energy. And, I'm eternally grateful that you chose to spend this 45 minutes with us. Yes, amen. Other people agree as well. And, we're just going to continue to pray that God continues to use you to be a blessing to others. And, the whole platform here that we're creating here at Bloom is all about celebrating other women, celebrating their success, their journey without questioning your own. And, you just embody everything that, we all aspire to connect with, be with, and you're just a great overall person. So I thank you for taking the time to share your journey with us and about your children and your life story. And I want to leave the floor to you in case you have any closing remarks or anything else that you want to say to our viewers.
Sure. Well, my pleasure. Thank you so, so much for inviting me to be part of Bloom today. And I love the work that you're doing on, empowering women. It's so important because there may be other, platforms or different avenues out there, but every single one offers something different. Right. So they're unique in their own way. So I thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for having me today. I hope that I've said something to inspire someone. If you want to follow LaShaun Martin, I am at LaShaun Martin everywhere. You can look up LaShaun Martin Music on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe if you want to continue seeing music or hearing music from LaShaun. I've got quite a few clips on there of worship sets and also some original music that I've done, including the music video of Be Still. So you can follow us there. And if all else fails and you can't remember any of that, go to www.LaShaunMartinMusic.com. And there you can find everything that we have to offer. Keep watching, keep listening. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today.
All right. Thank you so much again. And thank you for everyone taking time out your day to join us and to celebrate LaShaun and celebrate each other. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we will see you all next week. Thank you for blooming with us.